I've got the pleasure to introduce welcoming remarks from the Honorable Seamus O'Regan, Canada's Minister of Natural Resources. Minister O'Regan was appointed Minister of Natural Resources in 2019 with a mandate to put Canada's natural resource sectors at the forefront of the fight against climate change. And this mandate includes planting 2 billion trees over the following decade, developing low and zero emission fuels for widespread adoption, and retrofitting homes and infrastructure to ensure peak energy efficiency. We are honored to have him with us here today to set the tone for our discussion and to push us to think hard about the role ports and the maritime sector could play in kickstarting the hydrogen economy in Canada. So without further ado, Minister O'Regan, welcome.
Thank you, Louis. And first of all, can I say how much I appreciate the map of Labrador over your shoulder? It's where I grew up. I'm not in Labrador today. I'm in the port of St. John's, which is on the island of Newfoundland, the ancestral homeland of the Mi'kmaq and Beothuk, where it is completely foggy and I can't see across the strait. I want a big thank you to Oceans North and to Zen Clean Energy Solutions for organizing the series of events right across the country, focusing on hydrogen in our ports and marine sector. You know, you look at what just happened in the Suez Canal. It has shown us how fragile supply chains can be and how critical shipping is to the global economy. It's responsible for 80% of all international trade, but shipping also accounts for more than 1 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions every year. In fact, that ship in the Suez, the Ever Given, is one of the massive container ships that fuel our global economy, but they are hard on the environment because almost all of these ships are burning bunker sea oil. And bunker is that tar-like residue that remains at the end of the distilling or the cracking process after lighter hydrocarbons like gas and diesel have been removed. Most cargo ships burn bunker. It is so polluting that Gwyn Dyer, who's one of my favorite journalists and a Newfoundlander, he wrote in his column last week that the Ever Given alone produces as much pollution per day as 50 million cars driving their average daily distance. 50 million cars. If shipping were a country, it would be the 6th most polluting in the world. And what's worse, those emissions are expected to grow 50% by 2050 compared to 2018 levels. So time's not on our side. The average ship is in service for 30 to 50 years. So if we're going to bend the curve and reach net zero emissions by 2050, we have to act now. So, no wonder then that the International Energy Agency has recommended making industrial ports the nerve centers for scaling up the use of clean hydrogen. Right around the world, a lot are taking up this challenge. Coastal nations like Norway, Spain, the United Kingdom, they're already investing in hydrogen-powered fleets and infrastructure, including cargo handling for container ships. Belgium has a hydrogen-powered passenger ferry. And while many of these are powered by fuel cells designed and built in Canada, we can't be left behind in deploying these same homegrown technologies here at home. In fact, we can lead. There are tremendous opportunities for hydrogen in our ferries, our tugs, our fishing vessels. These smaller vessels are a great proving ground before scaling up to larger merchant vessels. If we develop decarbonized vessels, we lower emissions. We build expertise, we create jobs, and we help fuel more and more parts of the Canadian economy with hydrogen. And Atlantic Canada has another advantage. Our infrastructure is relatively new, with piping that is compatible for hydrogen for blending in the natural gas grid. We're also a small region in the context of the national economy. And you know what? Sometimes that works against us, but in this case, it works to our advantage because our industry players all know one another. They're used to working together. We saw that in our successful bid for the Ocean Supercluster. We can move quickly to capture opportunities. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we want to leverage the extra electricity that we produce alongside wind and other renewables for clean hydrogen production. Now, these things won't happen overnight. They will happen over time if we make them happen. When Henry Cavendish discovered hydrogen in the 18th century, many simply couldn't understand this inflammable air, they call it. They scoffed at its value. Frankly, some still do. The doubters and the detractors question its viability, its cost, the challenge of transporting it, the difficulties in handling it. But Canadians know how to lead when it comes to energy. It's our family business. Some of our nation's brightest minds started working on the technology to produce hydrogen more than a century ago. And today, we follow in their footsteps. All that Canadian ingenuity and determination, all that dreaming and daring has brought us to this moment, 2021, to a time when hydrogen is no longer just the most abundant chemical substance in the universe, but a critical part of our low emissions energy future and a major part of shipping's future. We understand the potential for hydrogen. We launched the hydrogen strategy for Canada just a few months ago. That strategy is a call to action to accelerate our domestic production and use and cement our place as a global supplier of choice, turning this common element into a cornerstone of our net zero economy. It's an ambitious strategy with an ambitious goal: make Canada a top 3 producer of clean hydrogen. We also want to make sure that supply and demand grow at the same time through a mix of multifaceted hubs that bring partners together along the value chain, as well as larger scale signature projects that could be showcased around the world. And Canada's ports here on the East Coast, as well as on the West Coast, and they're natural places to begin. While the next few years will likely be focused on building domestic demand, we also need to look longer term to making Atlantic Canada a gateway for supplying Europe and other global markets. But Canada can't do it alone. We need greater use of hydrogen around the world. In 2019, Canada launched the Clean Energy Ministerial Hydrogen Initiative to work with other countries to foster greater deployment of hydrogen in ports and in the marine sector. So what's next? What steps can we take now? As an industry, as governments, what do you need most from the federal government, and how can we serve you best? Finding those answers and others is what this summit's all about. Helping us to drive hydrogen into the maritime sector as we've never done before, and ensuring that all our coastal regions benefit from the coming revolution in hydrogen. Hydrogen will help us get to net zero. It's going to be a big part of it. So we need to capitalize on this opportunity. We need to double down on our common mission: net zero emissions by 2050. A prosperous economy that continues to create jobs, and a low emissions future that leaves no one behind. I know it's a lot, it's ambitious, but we're Canada. That's what we do. I wish you all a very successful event. Thank you, Louis.